Welcome to Reality is Undefeated. I'm at Gatewood. Thank you for tuning in. There was a time when thousands of fans would walk into Greenleaf Field at the corner of Bedford Ave and Chauncey Street in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to watch Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, and other members of the Pittsburgh Crawfords. The stadium was designed by Louis Arnett Stewart Bellinger, one of the few black architects nationwide at the time, and named after the man that built it, Gus Greenlee, a prominent black businessman, owner of the Crawfords, and founder of the second Negro National Leagues. The years around 1933 and the Negro Leagues are in full effect, with the Homestead Grays and Crawfords being prominent amongst other teams. In 1937, the Negro American Leagues would form, and the Birmingham Black Barons, along with the Kansas City Monarchs, would begin to make their mark on history. Several other teams would come and go over the next 3 decades, and several players would leave the Negro Leagues to go and play in the majors, as they called it. Some of the more noticeable names include Ernie Banks and Willie Mays, with perhaps the greatest being Hank Aaron and the most famous being Jackie Robinson, who broke the color line in 1947 and is still honored tremendously by Major League Baseball today. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today, but I'm not quite there yet. When I was a kid, we tuned in to watch Ken Griffey Jr. show the prettiest swing baseball ever seen. We watched Barry Bonds take him out the park, go inside the park, rob him at the wall, and throw him out from left field. We just knew the big Herc Frank Thomas was going to take the next pitch to the upper deck. And everybody knows Bo knows sports, and that Dion was still in that next base. And that Tony Gwynn was the king of San Diego. And Cecil Fielder, Gary Sheffield, Fred McGriff, Kenny Lofton, they were all household names. Not to mention guys like David Justice or Marquise Grissom or Carl Everett, who were really good players. Today, you'd be hard-pressed to find an African-American who knows of 10 African-American Major League Baseball players, yet alone all-stars. I mean, off the top of my dome, I can only think of 2, Mookie Betts and Aaron Judge. I'm sure there are others, Tim Anderson, but we know him now more so for a brawl than his all-star level talent. We went from playing in our own leagues to barely playing at all. And if the trend continues, and I'm sure it will with our youth being priced out of the game, we'll be talking about when black people played baseball in the same sentiment as when dinosaurs walked the earth. The baseball writers kept the greatest of us from entering the hall and the prettiest swing from entering unanimously. They should have never been in the position to make that decision. But we gave up the right to write their stories and give their accolades and create a hall for our own players decades ago. We gave up our own because we've always wanted theirs. I can't help but think of Whites Only Pies. That scene in the movie Life where Claude is running across the field, dodging bullets to grab this pie that he was denied decades earlier. It's a perfect illustration of what we've seen throughout history and what we continue to see today. Their money, their recognition, their status, their acceptance. We want our names printed in their newspapers and to be viewed as being equal to them, but by them. Because no, our mothers just saying that we could do anything they could do, that wasn't good enough. We needed to be cheered by their fans as we drove in the winning run. We wanted to show that we could play with the best in the world as if we weren't already playing the best in the world. The Negro Leagues weren't just African American players. There were different ethnicities who were themselves barred from playing in the majors. And that's just one of many examples. Now, I've already told y'all what my standard is. I don't want to live in any neighborhood, shop at any store, eat at any restaurant where my people are not embraced. I don't care about who won a Grammy. Oscar so white, so what? I don't care about Paris Fashion Week. I don't care about who wore what at the Met Gala. Tell me who was honored at the Griot Awards. Tell me if Kendrick Lamar won at the BET Awards. Tell me how Essence Fest went, or who was fly at the Rock Nation brunch. But that's just me. I will never be at somebody's black tie, $1,000 a plate event, smiling in the faces of people who haven't even come close to sharing my same experiences, unless it's directly benefiting my people or thrown by my people. And even then, I still don't want to be there. Now, I'd rather be in somebody's backyard with Al Green playing in the background, asking who made the potato salad while I sit at the space table getting schooled by somebody's auntie who talking shit off that drink. Yeah, that's where I want to be at. I want to be at that domino table with the old school players, talking plaid shorts, high socks, sandals, and cigar smoke everywhere. talking about Cadillacs and ex-wives and global warming and grandkids' accomplishments. That's the environment I'm comfortable in. That's the environment that made me be like, man, I'm glad I actually stepped out today. But there are far too many of us who aren't comfortable in that environment. In fact, their comfort level increases the further they get away. They're not only comfortable distancing themselves from Black people, but the further they get away, they view it more and more as a flex. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I shouldn't have to go into examples for that. See, I remember when there was actually a Black community. Yeah, when the Black policemen, the Black mechanics, the Black teachers, if we had a Black doctor, the gangsters, the hustlers, we all lived in the same neighborhood. We all went to the same 7-Eleven. All of the kids went to the same school. Everything we use to symbolize wealth belongs to a different community. And as soon as we attain that, we no longer want anything to do with our communities. I remember reading a post from a Black business owner who was calling out Black people for not supporting Black businesses. Okay, cool. Later on, I would see a post from the same person, and they were stepping out with their significant other. Fly as hell. They look good, right? He was Balenciaga down. I'm not sure what brand she had on, but her purse was Chanel. Now, this may be a little unfair of me, and y'all can let me know if I'm tripping, right? But this is the way I was thinking. So as a Black person, I'm supposed to spend my money with you so you can turn around and go spend it with a different community. Am I wrong for thinking about the Black designers they could have patronized with that money? Am I wrong for thinking about the image that such a nice looking couple could have projected in that Black designer brand? Now, like I said, I don't know this person that well, so that could be unfair. I don't know what Black designers they have in their closet or not. And I'm certainly not one of those people that's going to tell you how you should spend your money. I just found that to be a little hypocritical. But I'm thankful for those posts, because what it really made me think about is what Black brands are status symbols? And if there are none, why not? We show our wealth by wearing certain watches, Rolexes, Audemars, Pateks, driving foreign cars, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, Mercedes, eating at Mastro's and Ocean Prime, wearing Gucci, Louis, and Yves Saint Laurent and Christian Louboutin. But none of that stuff belongs to us. But these are the things we can't wait to attain. These are the things we go broke over. These are the things we can't wait to show off, because it shows everyone that we have left the Negro Leagues. When we dine at Mastro's, we look amazing, we smell amazing. And that's great, because Mastro's has a dress code that you have to adhere to if you want that dining experience. And there's no problem with that. But why do we push back when Turkey Leg Hut asks for that same respect? That Black-owned business is just as popular, and I would argue harder to get in than a Mastro's. Again, I ask, what Black-owned brands are status symbols? And if there are none, why is that the case? I mean, last I checked, we're the ones pushing culture, right? There has to be something by someone from our community that says you made it, that everyone clamors over to show their wealth. What is that? Hell, if I wrote ATL, Esquire would have told Nunu, you got a Basquiat in your house. But it doesn't ring the same as Picasso, huh? I wonder why. It's because we don't know his work. Because our culture, which he was a full part of, don't push that. I shouldn't have had to look up Black-owned blank companies to know about Tally and Twine. Why have I heard Red Bottoms in 100 songs, but I haven't heard Brother Vellies in one? Why do we rock $500 Giuseppe's, but won't rock $250 Mignotis? I'm convinced FUBU wouldn't have done well if it was introduced today. It simply would not have cost enough to get the attention of the people that push the culture. It being at Macy's and Dillard's instead of Neiman Marcus and Saks Fifth, we would have looked down on the greatest brand, in my opinion, that we have ever created. But speaking of FUBU, I'm going to end this with a memory that has stuck with me since the summer of 1999 when I spent a week at a day camp in Roswell, Georgia. One of those days, we're sitting on this camp bus, and mind you, my cousin and I were the only black kids on the bus, and I'm wearing FUBU. But there's also this white kid that's wearing FUBU. And another white kid took interest to a shirt, and he asked him, "What brand is that?" And he told him, "It's FUBU." And he responded, "You're wearing FUBU? That's a black company." And you can see that as soon as he said it, it's kind of like he realized like, oh shit, that just came out my mouth. But it's not like he didn't mean for it to come out his mouth. It's just usually there aren't two black kids on the bus that he needs to be mindful of. At the time, I was irritated by that interaction. But 24 years later, I find myself asking the same question of my people. No other group is going to do it for us. These are the easy decisions to make. On a side note, I want to shout out August Wilson, the writer of Fences. I began writing this months back, but a few weeks ago, I found myself watching Fences for maybe the third or fourth time since it had come out. And that's when it dawned on me the story that was really told in that film. You know, Denzel's character had a lot of misery in that film, and it all revolved around, his inability to show the world his baseball talent on that major league stage. It was an incredible film. The acting, my goodness, Denzel, the best work I've ever seen from him. And I haven't seen all of Viola Davis's work, but I don't see how she could even top that in anything. Okay. That performance was just that amazing. But of course, it all starts with the story being told. And that respect goes to the writer.